Hey guys, I am back with another set of Amazon finds. Got a metal axle. It has a metal cover. The silver is something I did. That's something I just scraped the red paint off to give it a little pizzazz and a little style. Anyway, it seems to be all aluminum cast. Not a lot of machining in it, but it is set up for the older style front axles. So with that, you're going to need a set of these, which were also on Amazon. Come on. For the front C-hubs. That one goes over there because it has the Panhard link, and this one goes over here. The nice thing about these is you can adjust the angle, your steering angle. So if you want to be ridiculously stupid, you can turn it like that, but most people are going to only do about, I think they said it's about 8 degrees. Should be about right there. That'll give you enough swing when you turn. And of course you can do it dead even, I'm sure, but whatever you do, you want to make sure that you are in line from one side to the other when you mount those. All right, now because of course this is a older style, you're going to have link hangers. These are the T-Reel link hangers, also from Amazon, because where else would I buy anything? T-Reel, of course, is one of my favorites because they seem to have quite a bit going on. I mean, the machining is usually pretty spot on, and they turn out really good looking stuff. Now, these are not like the standard link hangers. This isn't a single spot for your link. You can do upper or lower on your links. You can do upper and lower on your shocks. And of course, it helps if you do mount them on the right side. Oh, apparently that one just doesn't like it there. Ooh. Fairly snug fit, I think probably because of the powder coating, but once I get the screws in it, it should line up and look pretty dang good. These are going in the orange truck with the Castle system in it because I really want to. That's probably going to end up being my main test monkey for all of these weird little monkey parts. But the axle housing itself was about $21. The C-hubs, the C-hangers, I guess is what you'd actually call them. These were, I think, $8. And I believe these T-Reel aluminum link hangers were about $12, I think. You have to check with Amazon. I'm sure prices fluctuate, so you never know. Anyway, I'm going to get the front axle off the orange truck, and we are going to put these all together. All right, stick around. This ought to be good. Phew! That was actually a lot of work. I'm still using the stock plastic ones because I would rather have this as a failure point than have something further up the line like drive axle, something like that. These plastic C-hubs are fairly cheap. I actually have a couple of sets just because they are cheap. All right, a couple of things you should probably know. The bearing fit on the pinion is extremely tight on the outside and the inside. As usual, the best thing to do is to put the bearing on your pinion shaft and force it in this way. That way you're using all of the pinion to force the outer edge of the bearing, not the center of the bearing. You don't ever want to drive on that center of that bearing because you'll destroy the bearing. Same thing with the inside. Once you've got the outside in, you can put the bearing on the pinion and force it in that way, and it'll go in nice and tight. And there's no discernible movement in there really. It's pretty nice. The bearings that you get out of your original axle all go back into this axle housing. The bearings that come out of the ends for the axle shafts actually go in underneath these carriers. The carrier goes on after you put the bearing in there, then you tighten up the bolts on the bottom. The axle itself came with the bolts to put the cover on. They're actually considerably shorter than the stock ones. The stock ones are actually pretty long because they've got to go all the way through and grab all of that plastic. These actually can be shorter because they don't have to go as deep into the metal to get the same strength. The link and shock hangers did not come with the bolts to mount them to the axle. Those are 2.5 millimeter bolts, and I use the, oh Pete's sake, I use the 18 millimeter bolts in there, and they fit perfect. They don't quite poke through, so you're not going to get any interference in there, but you still have all of the stems in there to hold that in place. The only thing left to do is put this back underneath the truck and see how well it works, because it is super smooth as it is. I mean, there's no notch, there's no nothing. These are the original gears that came with this kit, so I'm really surprised that they're not worse off, because they are just butter smooth in there. All right, we'll get that back in the truck and then we'll take it outside. All right, there we go. We got everything in there. The gears are about as good as you can get. I mean, just beautiful both directions. I think my servo's about worn out, but you know, such things happen as you go along. The link mounts, I really suggest that you get in there with a drill bit and clean out the holes between, because these things were really difficult to get tight, and it is such a small bolt and small bolt head in there that it'll do you a lot more good if you clean that out. Of course, you're doing metal on metal on metal with this, so make sure that you use Loctite. The carriers on the ends, of course, you need Loctite on those, and the C-hub bolts into the carriers. Now, these are split on the ends, so just make sure that you keep those tight and keep them clean. Aside from that, everything else was essentially just drop-in stuff. There wasn't anything special to putting it in. All of the bearings transferred over. I used that extra opening to put some lube on the ring gear and the pinion and the bearings inside. Everything looked good already, but you know, might as well take advantage of it while you're there. The shock mounts on the sides there. And you get a good picture right down in there. Let's see, yeah. Anyway, the shock mounts, you can actually mount that shock as far down as the upper link hole, I believe. The shock mounts up top are really tight to get the bigger headed bolts in there like I used on these, so keep that in mind. But you can mount those all the way down on the bottom if you want to do like a droop setup, but not quite so sloppy. These are good for that. Let's see, I don't think there's anything else to cover as far as the installation or the build. It was all fairly straightforward. If you built one of the original axial front axles from the original run of the SCX-10 Gen 2, this axle's just a piece of cake. Only slight differences, but this axle housing is considerably heavier. I think you could use your plastic housings if you wanted to reuse your plastic housings on here instead of the aluminum ones, but you know, it comes with the aluminum one, so might as well beat it up. Anyway, that's it for the indoor thing. These are all on Amazon, so let's do a little outside running before the sun goes down and try to wrap this up. deal, guys. It seems pretty significant. The weight difference is definitely noticeable when you go up and over. You can feel it actually pull the front end back to the obstacle instead of just constantly lifting up. But the axle worked out really well. It's pretty beefy, so I think this will work for a good long time. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all those fun things. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck on the trails.